Hi, this is Hugh for Tone Twins TV, and in this video we're going to be doing some crazy modifications to a Rickenbacker 330. Regular viewers will probably have noticed that the backdrop's a little bit different. We've got the builders in and I've had to vacate my office temporarily, but I'm sure it'll all be going to be worth it in the end. I'm not going to go into massive detail on the history of Rickenbackers here or all various models. If you want to learn more about that kind of thing, I'd probably direct you to a recent video done by Chris Buck on Friday Fretworks. He really goes to town on all that, and it's fantastic. Instead, I'm going to be focusing on doing some modifications to this guitar. Rickenbacker is known as a company that rarely, if ever, makes significant changes, and the things that they were doing in the 60s are pretty much the same as the stuff that they're doing now. However, they have made a few little changes that have been popular with some and controversial with others. And first and foremost has to be the pickups. This guitar has what's called the high gain pickup, so higher output, kind of thicker sound. And they replaced the earlier toaster top pickups, so-called because they look like an electric toaster, which have kind of brighter, janglier, and lower output kind of tone. So the first thing I'm going to be doing to this guitar is installing a set of vintage Rickenbacker style pickups made by a UK company called the Creamery, who make some seriously lovely pickups, and I can't wait to hear those. Another of Rickenbacker's controversial changes was the abandonment of the capacitor that used to feed the bridge pickup. In 1960s guitars, 70s guitars, there was a preset bass roll-off on the bridge pickup, which gave it a trademark characteristic jingle jangle trebly Rickenbacker sound. So the owner of this guitar, Rhys, who has very kindly let us feature his guitar in this video, has asked me to reinstall this bass roll-off capacitor, but to put it on a push-pull switch, which will be placed in the position of the bridge tone control. Okay, so the plan is to change the pickups for these wonderful looking toaster tops. And I'm also going to be rewiring the controls. So, believe it or not, I've never actually taken a Rickenbacker apart before. So it's going to be a bit of a voyage into the unknown. I think I'm going to start by taking off the strings. Oh, so that just comes off. Cool. Right, so I've got to have a look under here now and see what's going on. So there's this double layer pickguard arrangement. So I'm going to take this one off first. Okay, little rubber grommets underneath. I just push these back through. Everything will stay in place. I think this might just be kind of stuck on with dirt and grime. Yeah. Okay. Well, these are the tone capacitors, which are Mallory's 150s, which I really like, so I'm going to be keeping those. Our two pickup wires are coming in on these grey ones here, and this is the output wire. I think to make life simple, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this completely off the guitar and make a note of which pickup connects where, and I'm going to replace these pots one at a time so I can keep track of where all these wires go, because it's really quite hard to find really good wiring diagrams for Rickenbackers online. Interesting to check out the values of these pots as well, because in the 60s it would appear, maybe the 70s too, that Rickenbacker used 250Ks for the volume and they used 500Ks for the tone, so that's what Rhys has supplied me with. Okay, this is an unfamiliar wiring scheme for me, so what I heartily recommend when you're doing something new, just keep track of everything use your phone to take a photo. You can draw diagrams on pieces of paper as well, both work. I tend to do a combination of the two. I've just disconnected the output jack, well, just unscrewed it really from the jack plate. No reason to desolder it at this point. And the only other thing is this ground wire, which basically probably connects to the bridge under there somewhere. Okay, and this lift's clear. The configuration here is not the same as kind of a Gibson or any two pickup guitar with individual volume and tone controls. It goes this way up, and the tone controls are both on this side and the volume controls are down here. This is the neck volume and the bridge volume, so yeah, it takes a little bit of time to get used to this if you're used to playing Les Pauls and SGs and that sort of thing, and that's worth bearing in mind when you're changing pots. So I've got a nice selection of potentiometers here. They've all come from Bare Knuckles. I'm quite keen on these. This is a 550k pot, and these two are the Bare Knuckle 280k pots, which I'll be using for the volumes. So it's rewiring time, and like I said, I'm going to do these one at a time, but what I do need to do is get these control knobs off, and they're all held on by grub screws, and immediately that kind of creates a little bit of a problem with the pots that we've got, because when you've got grub screws holding your control knobs in position, what you really should have is solid shaft potentiometers. You see those? What we've got as replacements are split shafts, but that's not going to be a problem, and I'll show you why shortly. So basically, what I use these brass sleeves. You can get these from All Parts UK and various other suppliers. There's the order number if you need it, and all that happens is the sleeve goes over the shaft like that, and you can tighten up, and it basically just converts a split shaft potentiometer into a solid shaft, and it's problem solved. This is really useful because sometimes if you're after like push-pull pots and things like that, they're often only available in split shaft versions, and if you need solid shaft, that's how you get around the problem. Okay, so I've got to solder this ground connection onto the pot casing. To make this easy, the thing to do is to kind of just run a pool of solder onto there prior to trying to make the connection. Pop it on top, add some more, and just hold it down. There we go, that's the first tone control in. As I said, I couldn't really find a good schematic for this, and I did find a couple, but they were not particularly clear and they were unverified, and in instances such as these, what I prefer to do is just do one part at a time. You can kind of make a note of where all the wires are, keep track of everything, and hopefully not make any mistakes. As you can see, I've replaced 1, 2, 3 pots. I'm going to move on to this tone control here now, and this switch-in pot that I'm using it's one of these new CTS ones. So CTS is like an industry standard for guitar potentiometers along with companies like Bournes and Alps. Really good quality stuff with a switch conveniently located on the back, and the connections are made via this little printed circuit board here. I've not actually used one of these before, so I'm quite interested to see how easy it is to do. Okay, so there's a little jumper wire for the ground across to the casing of the part, and I'm going to get this into position now and hook it up. So I've got this push-pull part in position. I've made my ground connections on the side of the casing there. The tone capacitor is just tucked down at the bottom, but it's connected to the potentiometer. The tricky bit now is making all these switch connections, and the central tags are labelled C1 and C2, and what I'm going to do is intercept the signal going from the switch to the bridge volume control, and I'm just going to put this switch in line, and I'm going to solder a capacitor across the two center tags. So basically that capacitor is always going to be in circuit, and then I'm going to put a little jumper cable between tags 2 and tags 4. I'll post up a diagram so you can actually see what's going on here, but basically when the switch is in the down position, the signal just routes across the jumper wire, so although the capacitor is still in circuit, it has no effect on the tone whatsoever. Then when you pull this up, basically it disengages the jumper wire and the signal is just passing through the capacitor, and that's what provides the bass roll-off. Well, it's all soldered in. I didn't film it because it was really fiddly, but you can see that little green capacitor bridging the switch there. Okay, fingers crossed. This wiring job's complete, and all I've got to do now is just clean up these connections on the switch and see if I can connect these new pickups. Just had a final thought, and I measured this mixer pot, and it's 330k, and the 60s ones were, or the vintage ones were 500k. I've got a 500k pot here. I'm going to change it because the brief for this is basically 60s wiring as close as, but with the optional bass cut, so it'd be remiss of me to leave this in. So I'm going to change this for a 500k, and then we're going to get the pickups, the new pickups, into this guitar. It's pickup replacement time, and if these Creamery pickups are anything to go by, these 4 corner screws just hold the base plate on, and the fixing screws to the pickups are these ones located in between the 2 corner screws. Could be wrong. We'll find out soon enough. Yeah, the foam was stuck to the finish a little bit, but apart from that it's absolutely fine. Okay, a signature in there, looks like David. Well, I've mounted the pickups. Yeah, they don't really come with kind of special foam to put underneath, just some adhesive foam strips, which don't look great really, and I think suggest to Rhys that he sees if he can find something a little bit nicer. They come with it's shielded wire, and with two cables running inside, red and white. So I've twisted the shielding wire and the white together. I'm just going to tin them now, just get them ready for soldering onto the pot, and just tin the positive connection as well. Finally done. I'm going to string this up now and give it a go. Of course, no video of this sort would be complete without some kind of tone test, and I've made recordings of this guitar with the original pickups and also with the Creamery toaster tops through my 1963 Vox AC10. Project's complete, and I only had to do one more thing for Rhys, and that was to fit Horseshoe Bigsby. I didn't feature that in the video because, as far as I'm concerned, that's a completely different topic. I learned a massive amount working on this guitar, principally why I've always been somewhat underwhelmed and disappointed by my previous experiences with Rickenbackers. Really, the high gain pickups, I like the sound, but it doesn't really produce that tone, the 1960s Rickenbacker tone that I carry in my head. The toaster top suggests clearer, more open, more jangly, and the bass cut actually makes perfect sense, especially when you blend it with a little bit of neck pickup. For me, it works so well because it scoops out all those frequencies that can clash with stacked harmonies, get in the way of the bass, maybe get in the way of the keyboards, and it allows guitars like this to kind of jangle across the top in that magical way that they do. It also makes me think about how companies like Gibson, Epiphone, Gretsch to some extent, base their tone on that big kind of mellow, warm jazz thing, whereas Rickenbacker, it seems like they were maybe shooting more for like an amplified acoustic guitar sound, and maybe that's why the kind of playing styles that you might normally adopt for an acoustic guitar also can be applied to Rickenbacker, and they work so well. I must say that I do not find this Rickenbacker an easy guitar to play, largely because of the narrow string spacing and also the low frets. I suspect that I probably need a few weeks to get used to one of these, and I've also never played a guitar more in need of compression. But having said that, I can't believe I never owned one of these back in my paisley shirt wearing pomp, and it would have suited me down to the ground. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you all again soon. Double.